Hello, it's 9 p.m. in RTD. It's time to English New Edition. For tonight's headlines, we have the President of the Republic takes part in the ceremony of launching cinematography in Djibouti. For the international scene, the two-rival camp announces suspensions of their participation in the Geneva talks. Welcome to our newsroom. It is under the aegis of the head of state that the official ceremony of the cinematography was held this morning, this day, organized by the Ministry of Waqf Property Service as a springboard for the launch of the cinema, the seventh art in the landscape of Djiboutian art, giving it the prominent places in the service, even if the breeze of film industry to highlight the cultural and tourist wealth of the country.
تبيو أقون تلمامسو طلعوضة ما تتهانسو تصميصو سينما قطييسن تصميصو سينما قطييسن تصميصو سينما قطييسن
Upon his arrival, the number one of the Republic, Ismail Omar Guelleh, accompanied by the First Lady Qadra Mahmoud Haid, was welcomed by the Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, the Minister of Waqf Momin Hassan Barre. Both welcomed in a folk dance atmosphere. Once inside, they visit some of the various works of the art that were on display there. Once inside the Great Hall, the President and the First Lady were given astounding innovations in the People's Palace.
aqoon-yahan iftiimi tooshka xataa hasidii todobsiinii maagu aqoon-yahan iftiimi tooshka xataa hasidii todobsiinii maagu hagaadhin tartankeed tiigso teknoloji lulankeeda tiirso takulayso sinimaago taaro u taaba talantaali waayahaaga aqoon-yahan iftiimi tooshka xataa hasidii todobsiinimaagu aqoon-yahan iftiimi tooshka xataa hasidii todobsiinimaagu tabiyo aqoon tilmaamso tallaabada maanta tahanso tusmayso sinimaaga tayaysan tusmayso sinimaaga tayaysan tusmayso sinimaaga tayaysan tabiyo aqoon tilmaamso tallaabada maanta tahanso tusmayso sinimaaga tayaysan tusmayso sinimaaga tayaysan tusmayso sinimaaga tayaysan aqoon-yahan iftiimi tooshka xataa hasidii todobsiinimaagu garaadka tujitaame maanta taagtadii timaadaba ku tiigso.
This majestic and promising celebration for the launch of the cinematography gathered in addition to the other members of the government, a large assembly composed of deputies, professionals from the world of cinema, media, tutors, but also film fans and intellectuals such as Professor Abdi Samatar, Director of the Department of Geography At University of Minnesota, the internationally renowned writer Nuruddin Farah, who is in Djibouti for the adaptations of his work from A Crooked Rib to the cinema filming that will take place in Djibouti. The day began with readings of the Holy Quran, followed by the national anthems, was enlivened by traditional song accompanied by Afar, Arab and Somali dance, bearing the colors of Djibouti's cultural diversity, symbols and the true banners of the unity. It was for the public a promise of a journey through traditional song, dances, music and poetry, but also sketch and cinemas, the places of women dualities.
habaysan taagso tabiyo aqoon tilmaamso tallaabada maanta tahanso tusmayso sinimaga tayaysan.
The internationally renowned writer Nuruddin Farah has for his part indicated that this is a great day for all the Djiboutians around the world to put in place a new forms of activity like cinema. For his part, the Ministry of Wealth, Property and Cultures, Momin Hassan Barre, has indicated that Djibouti's cultural diversity symbols as true banners of unity. It was for the public a promise of a journey through traditional song, dances, music and poetry, but also sketches for cinemas and the places of women in a duality of tradition, modernity, vision that united everyone in the countries. The President of the Republic, Ismail Omar Guelleh, said that this is a special day for us, a day that has an important meaning because we have just passed our milestones. Listen to the head of state.
macno weyn noole waxa weeyaan tallaabo aan in badan aan naawilaynay ama aan ka fakaraynay ama aan dariiq u la'ayn aan taabsanno ayay maanta noo suuroobaysa bilowgii.
Today is a special day for us, a day that has been important, meaning because we have just passed a milestone, a stage that we have hesitated about, or that we have searched so hard for a way to get to, and we have reached it. The objective is how to make Djibouti the place to be for African cinema, because cinema is an economy in its own rights and a tradition. My way of speaking is rooted in a tradition, my way of dressing, and above all, my way of being. And cinema highlights our culture and tradition in the concert of nations. It is a mirror that reflects Djiboutianity on the international scene. In other words, it is a vector that makes who we are known to the world and that the Djiboutian can see themselves through. Today, the Republic of Djibouti has taken over this universal language that is used by the entire planet. There have been film shoots in Djibouti where the Djiboutian were used as extras, like in the film The Planets of Apps, where several scenes were shot in the idyllic landscape of the Lac Abbé, and many others films were also shot in Djibouti. Today, we are happy. We are satisfied to have people who have the passion and expertise to reach the top in the film industry. Cinema is an industry in its own right, an economy that mobilizes other empirical work in the field, and on the other hand, an industrial economy between the different links in the chain. With innovations and technological evolution, cinema has entered the era of the digital economy, and today we can perceive other perspectives that can open the way to other paths. We are at the prelude of this long road. Students, so to speak, we are beginning their first chapter of learning. It is initiation that begins at a very young age, so they will reach the summit and touch like 400 Frank Djibouti, as the play we followed together said. We must not neglect this and see it as the low regard our society has for artists. So you have to be a graduate, and that is how you can acquire knowledge. The example of Beethoven and his symphony is a perfect example. After centuries, people listened to him for his genius. And cinema is the same and even better. How many stories do we have? There are thousands of them, known by all. Cinema participates in the construction of a collective imagination. Cinema allows the cement in history what could disappear in an hourglass of time. It is the identity representation of a nation and serves as history for the future generation.
ma Soomaali baa afar boqol oo malyan oo dollar ba boqol malyan oo dollar yaa ku baxaysa marka la yiraahdo Soomaali baa lacag inta laga soo saari karaya maya ma garanayno dil lacagta waan garanaynaa laakiin waxaan galay ma garanayno marka de يعني صور با إمسان شيك لنا إمسان محل شيك حرير لنا سينما أقول تاسو أتكينا يا كو هلو إني هلابان بو كدبيا لبا صور بو نقول يا دتكينا إسكو أركان إنه دقن كيه وحنا يوضان إن أي شخصية دودي كل حجرتنا ويأركيان وحي أن يران تلا نوجو والرمية أردن أي صاريا ويحفظيا هدي كل هدي اللي قصة بيا فيلم لما بقول سنة صوصعت ولا داون دنك لقى إيجابا ولا داونية فإذا دون دي وديك أركي أنت أصور بيكوجرتا.
The head of state thanked the organizers of this special day and recognizes the efforts made in this sense. Listen once again to the head of state.
On aadu mahadnaqayna Nuruddin waa kaasoo qalbiga iyaga ayuu galay oo waan ku faanaa buu reer Djibouti bana.
I would like to thank the international renowned writer Nuruddin Farah, who is here with us. He said earlier in his speech, I am proud to be from Djibouti, and you are proud to have you here with us. The reason you are here in Djibouti and what you will also undertake, we will do it with you, and you will help us build this film school. We will join forces and give birth to something that will serve as a foundation for the development of Somali and African cinema. On this day that will go down in the annals of history, we hope that geniuses will be born from this. Minister Mumin Hassan Barre, who has this large-scale project at heart, I love people who go to the end of what they undertake. Once again, I welcome you to Djibouti and thank you.
idinkana wuxuu nii muujiyaa tolnimo oo isaguba waa dhanbu ka soo galaa oo waa media man wey oo dhanbu ka soo galaya sinimaaga iyo dhanba mar labaad soo dhawaada nagu talagala annaguna waan nagu talagalaynaa wassalaamu calaykum waraxmatullahi.
In our large format series on the region tonight has the honor of the otherwise known as Arta Center. It is an angle of the access of the largest of our 5 regions. We present you files on this concentrate project that is the region which has great potential. Listen to the reporter.
The capital city of the region of the same name, the youngest of the 5 regions of the country, highly sought after holiday resort of its middle climate. Arta town continues to grow day by day. It's how the headquarters of the prefecture of the region, headed by Mr. Mohammed Sheikh Hassan, a career civil servant who was recently appointed to these positions. And of course, the seat of the regional council, chaired by Mr. Elmi Bouh Godadi, elected in the last communal and regional elections, in addition to its service that head the region. The specificities of Arta town are first of all AMIA, the only military academy where officials of all the country's corps are trained. Arta is also the country's seismological center where all seismic activities in the region are monitored 24 hours a day. In addition, there is the only hotel and catering trade school, an institution under the supervision of the Minister of National Education and Vocational Training that aims to meet the aspiration of Djibouti in the area of tourism. It's the Sunny Hill Center in addition to hotel and catering college, which are the only training institution in the country in this field. Finally, the hospital in the region, which is a high-level reference hospital. For the rest, Arta town is divided into three large zones: the west zone, occupied mainly by state institutions, the south part housing the old Arta, and finally the east zone, which is constantly expanding, is the residential zone. Below it, that's where a real Suez Canal of the region, or a compulsory passage for all road traffic in the country. The Arta region is the buffer region through which is all road traffic transit, linking the capital and the region of the country, but also to Ethiopia. It's the road with the highest volume of traffic in the Republic of Djibouti, namely National Road 1, in the area of telecommunication as well. All relies serving the country and the region pass through Arta, as do the water supply and the electricity interconnections with Ethiopia's large neighbor. This region, with its very located geographical shape, extends from the Leita area in the west, bordering Lake Assal, to Loyada in the far east, where it shares a border with Somaliland. The second corridor of this region, hence its strategic importance of the first order. Its east part is primarily the industrial and commercial zone, but also agriculture, where the international free zone, the first of its kind in Africa, is located. The Arta region is also a port region with the two new ports currently under construction, the Demirjo cattle port and gas port, through which gas product exported by Ethiopia will be transported, to mention only the most important one. The local private sector is not be outdone in this real development pole that the central region has become. Owned by Djiboutian businessmen are flourishing in this region, such as EcoBrick, which now has more than 150 employees.
We have another magazine concerning the tourism in the region of Arta. Listen to this report, please.
Working in the hotel trade requires a rigorous learning and a long-term study in order to train in these different fields. This center, created in January 2018, provides hundreds of Djiboutian young with the opportunity to do so every year. But to begin with, what are the courses taught in this center and up to what level? In his intervention, the director of Sunny Hill, Said Miguel Gele, said significant funds have been mobilized to rehabilitate the infrastructure of the summer camp to make it a center of excellence. Indeed, this center provides additional training for young people to acquire the necessary skills for the exercise of the hotel, restoration, and also tourism trade. Even better, it offers continuous training for companies in the hotel and tourism sector to train again and update the skills of their staff. He indicated that in the framework of his technical teaching politics and professional training, the ministry launched the implementation of the sectoral training center of the hotel catering and tourism jobs in Arta, inaugurated by the head of state in January 2018. This is an amazing restaurant complexes alongside of the training center, made and composed of the 7 sectors, which is the kitchen, reception, tour guide, entertainment area, travel agency, house, speaker, and finally food services. One must be understood, each year 100 of students are admitted and trained within this center during 1 year, and once they get their certificate, those who are trained are likely to get a job, and this is all the benefit and advantage of getting trained. The head of the Hospitality High School of Arta, Ali Mahmoud, who also trains and supports young people in learning the basics of the hotel and tourism trades, provided further explanation about his duty and jobs. In addition, as an application hotel and restaurant, the center offers services to its customers 7 days a week. First of all, it offers accommodation and hotel services by offering different types of air-conditioned rooms, individual, collective, bungalows, and studio. for a large audience, for a large public, a large swimming pool, a mini golf courses, a play area for children, a fitness room for adults, a cleaning service, and a laundry room, he concluded.
The Minister of National Education Vocational Training, Mustafa Mohammed Mahamoud, has launched the trainings in the Certificate of Aptitude for the Functions of Facilitator Sunday, February 23, at the Sani Centers of Arta. About 13 supervisors and educational advisors of college and high school teachers will attend these 3-week trainings at the end of the BAF-MENFOP training course. The beneficiaries should be able to supervise and lead pupils and young people in a professional capacity in schools and extracurricular collectivist environment. It also makes it possible to organize and offer pupils, members of the educational community and young people living in the immediate vicinities of schools, educational and cultural activities adapted to their needs at the well-defined period, events, unforeseen events, and interrupted holidays. Training should provide by international experts. The Minister Mustafa Mohammed Mahmoud recalled the importance of this training, which is part of the policy. Also, they strongly urged beneficiaries to make the most of these trainings by getting fully involved in it. The ambassador of Djibouti to Egypt, Mohammed Dhour Hersi, has meetings with the Egyptian ministers of civil aviation, Captain Mohammed Manar, with whom he examined the cooperation of two brother countries in general and the discussions of the files establishment of a direct line between Djibouti and Cairo in particular. The meeting was held to facilitate the steps to be taken to implement this cooperation, which has become vital in view of the recent development to trade between the two countries. As part of the biometric registration operation for the person with disabilities in Djibouti, organized by the National Agency for Persons with Disabilities in partnership with the Ministry of Health, following the cooperation of biometric registrations of persons with disabilities in the municipality of Balbala, precisely within the District 4 on this Sunday, 23. The main objectives of this biometric registration is to update the socio-demographic data of disabled persons and also the medical data of disabled person, which will identify the situations of the person, disabled or not disabled, the types of disability, motor and visual, psychic, auditory and intellectual disability, and disability resulting from a disability. This is the degree of disability, the possibility to care, and the update is means access to the register of disabled people. Within the framework of the Coast Guard assistance operation to the Djiboutian population, especially people with special needs, ceremony was held to donate a Land Cruiser type scare donate by the Djiboutian Coast Guard, represented by Colonel Wais Omar Boghore, commanders of the Coast Guard, took place at the headquarters of the Directorate for National Agency for Disabled Persons in the day of February, for the benefit of the National Agency for Disabled Person, represented by the Director of General of the NPH, Douale Saeed Mahamoud. It is in this perspective of supporting the visionary and humanitarian policy of Ismail Omar Guelleh, President of the Republic, focused on improving the living conditions of people with special needs, and which has completely revolutionizes the images of disabled person in our country, that the Coast Guard proceeded to the donations of this Land Cruiser type vehicle to the benefit of the National Agency for Disabled Persons. Colonel Wais Omar Boghore, commanders of the Coast Guard, that this during their various for his part Douale Saeed Mahamoud said this in general to support the poorest peoples in our country. As part of the rejuvenationist policy, the Djiboutian armed forces have carried out a targeted recruitment of young men and women from the civilian population. The profile South was a specialist in all disciplines from mechanic to energy engineering and network engineer. After 10 long days of selection, the successful candidates were called this mornings for physical and sports tests as well as medical examinations. These sports events included 4 workshops divided as follows: pull-ups to test arm strength, Cooper's tests, which is a 12-minute timed race, abdominal set of push up for each discipline. A times of well-defined quota was given. It is at this state of mind the young candidates were gathering early this morning to Anglais stadiums after the course and the identifications of the person by presentation of his national identity card. These young people were grouped in groups of 20 at each workshop while being supervised by the staff of the Armed Forces Sports Office. The selections of the workshop was random, thus minimizing the waiting time. Under the aegis of the Secretary of State for Youth and Sport, the Karate Federation, headed by Abdul Qadir Burhan Kanano, organized a new type of mass training entitled Parents' Night. Indeed, the parents were invited to Tani with their children's mass trainings that several parents who accept to join the young initiate during the warm-up sessions of some self-defense techniques declared themselves delighted to discover karate. The demonstrations took place in the festive atmospheres in the presence of many enthusiastic parents. The president of the Karate Federation, Abdul Qadir Burhan Kanano, said for his part, satisfied with the organizations of this session of karate, martial art practiced by many Djiboutians, expressed his sincere thanks to the Secretary of State for Youth and Sport for its constant support for the promotions of these sports. The Djiboutian Cycling Federation held on Saturday a competition. The cycling this day was full of activities, and for the occasion, the whole cycling team came to participate. The kickoff was given by the prefect of the region, Moussa Danmigane, in the presence of the president of the Djiboutian Cycling Federation, Gobe Mahmoud Miguel, and the vice president of the regional councils, Nour Said Geldon. They started near the Ali Sabih cement factory early in the mornings and arrived in front of the Ali Sabih prefecture after traveling a distance of 4 kilometers without despite. For the international scene, Libya, the 2 rival camps announced specials of their participation. In Geneva talks, the 2 rival Libyan camps invited by the UN to political talks in Geneva on Wednesday announced separately that they had suspended their participation in the talks, citing different reasons. The Eastern-based parliament supporting Marshal Khalifa Haftar announces that he would not attend the meeting because the UN missions in Libya did not approve all 13 of its representatives. His rival, the High State Council's equivalent to a Senate, which support the Tripoli-based non-government national unity. And to close up this edition, Egyptian former President Hosni Mubarak died at the age of 91. The Egyptian presidency will be responsible for organizing the funeral of the former head of state who ruled Egypt for 3 decades. The former Egyptian president Hosni Mubarak died on Tuesday at the age of 91 in the Gala military hospitals in Cairo. He led the countries from 1981 to 2011, then pushed for resignation during the Egyptian revolutions. This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us.